Welcome. This is a follow-up tutorial to the Lunch and Learn that we had back in the fall for using feature lines, grading objects, and corridors to create a composite surface with a lot more detail. So I'll start with the example that we used in the tutorial. I've got some preset subassemblies set up so that we can build some curves and things like that. I've got an existing surface, and I've got the feature line that already has some elevations applied to it. We can see those here. I just kept the grades pretty gentle there. And then we have the building outline that has an elevation on it, and we have a parking layout. So that's what we're going to begin with. So we'll start off by creating the grading for the outside edge and tying out. This will also give us the infill, which we can apply the elevations to the feature lines once we create the curves. All right, so we'll start off with grading. Before I begin, let me just highlight what I've got in here so far. I've got a grading group, I've got the feature line, all put into the site called pad. So let's begin. All right, we'll start with grading, and we'll open our grading creation tools. We'll select our grading group and hit OK. Our surface is selected. We're going to grade to a surface, and let's go ahead and create grading. We're going to go on the outside edge, do it to the whole length. Let's do slope grading. We'll do 3:1 for our cuts. For fill, we'll do 4:1, and it'll grade it out for us. Next, then we can go ahead and create our infill, and you can see our contours are now showing up. All right. Let's go ahead next and look at the object viewer just to see what we've created. I'll pull this over. Okay, so now you can see that we've got our pad. Now that we've got our general pad, let's add some detail to it by adding the building and maybe the outside grade around it. We'll start off with offsetting this by 0.1. This is going to be the outside ground elevation, so we're going to lower that by 6 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to select both of these objects, and I'm going to just create a feature line from them. We're going to add these. We're going to actually create a different site to put these in so that they don't interact. We're going to call this brakes. Can hit OK. We can leave the existing entities if we want. They already have elevations. Hit OK. We can grab both of these feature lines. We can right click and add to surfaces break line. And we're going to add that to the pad surface. And we're going to hit OK. And we'll just call these BLDG. And we'll hit OK. And it should have updated our surface. If we look at it in the object viewer, we should now see the outside of the building edge. All right. Now we'll go ahead and create our curb for this by using corridors and extracting the auto quarter feature lines as break lines to edit the surface dynamically. So the first thing we need to do is convert these to feature lines. So we'll come up here and create feature lines from object, put them in our breaks site, and we'll keep the original objects. We'll assign elevations, and we're going to do from a surface, and we're going to deselect that because we don't want extra points. And now there's your feature line. Now we can create a corridor from that using the curb and gutter assembly. So we'll say corridor, we'll call this C1, call this C1 so the feature line and the corridor line up. All the things are selected. We'll come here, select our subassembly. We'll deselect this and we'll hit OK. And so now you have your corridor and your feature line. So to get this to interact with your surface, you need to select the corridor and extract the feature lines. We're going to use all. So we're going to get the back of curve, we're going to get the flange, which is out here, we're going to get the flow line of the gutter, and we're going to get the top of curve. So once we select that, you can see that they're all here. And then now we can just add these to the surface as a break line. And we're going to add that to the pad surface. Hit OK. We can call this C1. Hit OK. And so now you can see that it adds in that curb. Look at it in the object viewer. So you can see pretty well defined curve there. Again, what's great about this, if you want to modify those three, you can come here and change the elevation of this feature line, and it will automatically update your surface. So I've got this coming up at a 1.5%. Say I wanted to change it to 2. Hit enter. I need to have my corridor set to automatic rebuild. And then you can see it updated the contours automatically. And yeah, if I want to change this back to maybe not quite 2%, maybe we go up at 1.8. And then now you can see it updates automatically. So let's go ahead and add in this other side so we can see how that works again. We're going to take this polyline. We're going to take and create a feature line from it. We're going to put it in our break site to keep it out of our pad site. If we were to put it into the pad site, it would start interacting in ways we don't want it to, and that's a key point. We're going to assign elevations after we want to keep our entity and assign elevations. We're going to hit OK, deselect that, use pad. And so now these has picked up on those elevations, and you can verify that by looking at these grades and adjusting them, or you can always adjust them later. So now we're going to go ahead and create a corridor from this. Call this C2. Call this C2 so they match up. Breaks C2. Assembly is going to be curb and gutter standard. Don't need a target, and we can deselect that option. All right. So what happens here sometimes, the feature line is going in the wrong direction. And so what you have to do is you have to reverse the direction to get the curb and gutter to flip on the other side. And if you select the feature line, you can come up here and select reverse out of the menu. And then once that's done, we can set that to rebuild. And there you go, flips it over for us. Now we still need to go ahead and extract our auto quarter feature lines from this. We're going to get all of them. There they are. Hit extract. Now here you could select auto quarter feature line and then you could select similar. Be careful, it will grab the ones you've already selected, but you can shift select. That way it's a little faster in grabbing all of those. Now if you right click, you can just add to surfaces break line, pad, and we'll call these again C2 and hit OK. Now from time to time it will regrade some of this, and that's easy enough to fix. Just change it to contours, points, and triangles, and then you can just delete these exterior lines that you don't want. Hit OK, and then let's look at it in the object viewer. There you go. Now you've added your second curb. So I'm going to go through in a moment and we'll do the rest of these curbs, but if you want to get a gut check of where things are, now might be a good time to see how if your site is balanced or not. So let's go ahead and create a volume surface. I'm just going to call it pad volume, and we don't need to see it. Base surface is going to be existing. Comparison surface is going to be pad. And we're going to add a 10% shrinkage factor. So, not too bad. Right out of the gate, we're about 1,000 yards of excess material. And as we apply subgrade, that's probably only going to get worse. So at some point, once we get the rest of our details put in here, we can raise or lower the site. So after a little bit of time, I've finished or completed the model. I've even added in some retaining walls, and we'll look at those in the object viewer in a second, as they were built a couple of different ways. I've added in the curb and gutter and the islands, and I've even done the sidewalk with the handicap ramp. So, and I've got some grade labels on there just so we can kind of see what the ground was doing. So let's look at this in the object viewer really quick. So now that the model's built, you can see that we've got a good amount of detail in here. You can even see the transition and the sidewalk there for the handicap ramp. You can see that we've got a fairly detailed wall with a ditch behind it, and that's a cut wall. And then we have a fill wall here, kind of the same thing, but built a little differently to do different things. We'll just pan around the site so we can kind of see again how we've got the transition into the building here, and the slopes for the handicap parking there. And you can see how we transition to a face down sidewalk and to a standard sidewalk. So there's quite a few things that you can do, editing various parameters of the corridor and the subassembly models. Hope you found this video useful, and please reach out to me if you've got any questions. And there's a multiple different ways that you can build these things. I just used this example and this approach to kind of show that by creating feature lines and putting them into a different site helps you manage helps you manage that interaction between feature line and grading object and corridor and auto corridor feature lines, and how they can all come together to create one composite surface that's interactive and can help you speed up your process for finding a viable grading solution. Thank you for watching.